No pressure. Just saying that I'm gonna have a great story or anything. Hi, my name is Nam. I was born and raised here in Albuquerque. But to kind of get to the story of how came to become born and raised in Albuquerque, I have to kind of start like Kay said with my parents' story. So as you guys know, Vietnam fell in 1975, and when that fell, when Saigon fell, my parents stayed in the country for a couple years after that. But my parents were from South Vietnam, so they were really just displeased with the regime and things like that. So they really wanted to get out. So up to that point, they would just get on a raft or a boat or anything like that and just try to get out to the sea and literally just leave the country. That was the only way they could leave. They wouldn't really have any means of leaving the country except for getting on a boat and just shooting straight out into the ocean and basically hoping that a commercial ship would pick them up. And so they kept doing that for a couple years, and my dad risked getting arrested a couple times and things like that. So then one time it actually was successful, and I believe it was in 1981. They just got on a raft. I think it was maybe like a shrimp boat that shouldn't support 200 people, but they got like 200 people on there, shot straight out in the ocean. And the sad thing about it was at that time they had my oldest brother, but he was so young, he was like 18 months old, so they couldn't take him, so they left him in Vietnam with my aunt. So when they just shot out in the ocean, and then a commercial liner picked them up, shot them to the Philippines for a couple weeks, and then they became refugees and got shot to Hong Kong for a couple weeks. And then finally they ended up here in Albuquerque. And then in 1982 is where they landed here in Albuquerque. And that's when they had my sister. And after they had my sister, so 8 years after that is when I was born. And I really don't have much recollection of being a kid, except for I remember that they were placed in the Mountain View apartments, if anybody knows where that's at. That's where a lot of the Vietnamese refugees were placed. And I lived there till I was 4, but I really have no recollection of that because when I was 5, we moved to the Heights. So that was a completely different experience than what my siblings had experienced. And I lived in the Heights all the way till I graduated high school, basically. And the cool thing about my parents is my dad really wanted to serve in the military when the war was happening, but he was only 17, so no one would take him. So for him, he really instilled like a sense of public service in me, because for him, he couldn't give back to his community, or he couldn't really do anything that he felt was valuable enough to save his country. So when he came here, he always instilled like public service in me. He even gave me a Vietnamese name, which I'm forever grateful for. I never wanted to feel like I wanted to assimilate into the country. I felt like I always had my own identity still. And that's also partially due to my mom. When I was 6 years old, she took me to the local Buddhist temple here, local Vietnamese Buddhist temple, and I'm still a part of it now. So there, my mom taught Vietnamese classes. So to this day, I'm fluent in writing and speaking Vietnamese. So that's something I'm forever grateful for. And it's still here, so if you guys ever want to visit, we've done a lot of growth over the years. Now that, since I was in the youth group, now that I'm a youth leader, it's great to kind of show the work and the growth that we've had. And that's on 420, Pennsylvania, shameless plug. So please come check it out. Yeah, so growing up, I guess when I went to school, you would think being Asian American, a lot of parents push their kids to go, hey, you know what, you got to go into the medical field, engineering, something that's going to make you a lot of money, something that's stable. But for my parents, it was never like that. They were always like, do something that you feel is going to be able to give back to your community. So that's why I got to study public administration, and that's how I ended up at the New Mexico Asian Family Center doing victim services now, and that's something I'm grateful for. Like Kay said, I really didn't come prepared with the story. I kind of just wanted to tell it how it was coming to mind. Let me think of anything important or significant that I should tell you guys about. Oh, one thing that's great about growing up in Albuquerque in the Heights was, growing up, obviously I experienced some bouts of racism. Like, my neighbors were super racist. They just hate us because we're Asian, and would always cut our hose for no reason, things like that. But when I went to school, I never really felt out of place. Like, I never felt like I didn't belong. I always felt like I was from Albuquerque. I grew up on this one street, and at the top of the street I had my friend Dominic. Down the street was my friend Robbie. So one guy was Spanish, one guy was Mexican, and then down the street we had a guy that was half black, half Indian. His name was Gopri. I'm still friends with him, so I have a great group of core childhood friends I've known since I was 5, and we're still friends today, so that's pretty awesome. I think that really represents Albuquerque. There's a great diversity here in Albuquerque of a lot of people that were displaced, kind of just end up here. But the thing about this state is, like, I tell a lot of people when I travel, is it's kind of like the Wild Wild West. Everyone's still really resilient, really prideful, so we kind of hold on to the things we have. And that's one of the things that makes Albuquerque great, is that we're just so resilient. And we really place a great emphasis on family. And I'm not just talking like my direct family, but the people around you really become your family here in Albuquerque. And I think that's the most important thing about Albuquerque. I think I really represent like the tail end of this story, and a story that will continue. And a lot of you guys have told a story that that came before me, but clearly we can see the resilience in the state and in Albuquerque, in the international district. And like she said, she hopes it becomes vital. I hope it becomes vibrant, and I think it's well on its way to that. So thank you.